Welcome into the Speeding in the Pits podcast with your co-hosts Wyatt Williams, myself, and my counterpart here, Connor Klon Huberty. How are we doing today, sir?
Pretty good, man. Ready for another week of this. I can't believe we're on five already.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
It actually is. We've been going through them like crazy. I cannot believe we're on five either. It's pretty wild. You mentioned that, but we've got a very special guest joining us very early in this show,
That's right.
Levon Geest. He is a racer from here in central Wisconsin. We're going to talk to him about some of the charity stuff he's doing up here in central Wisconsin, as well as what racing is like for him and everything that goes with that. We're going to break down this past weekend at the Roval, which was interesting.
Eventful.
Interesting. Yeah, eventful. There we go. And we're also going to break down the round of 8 looking forward here. What does it take to get to the round of 4? But before we do that, let's bring on Levon right now. And Levon, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking time to talk with us as I try and work out these cameras here. There we go.
There it is.
That's where we want him. All right. Well, Levon, we hear you've got some charity stuff you're doing up here in the central Wisconsin area. You want to start by talking about the who's, what's, when, where's, and why's of that?
Yeah, so this year I got my second chance to be in the Kawicki Driver Development Program, which is founded after the late Alan Kawicki, who was the 1992 NASCAR Cup Series champion, and he obviously tragically died in a plane crash the year after in '93. But the program was founded in his memory. And they pick 7 drivers every year throughout the country, like short track racers, grassroots kind of thing. And we get to compete on who can represent Allen the best on and off the track throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, they crown a Kawicki champion, which is a really big deal. So part of that whole program is to do a lot of off the track fundraising and spreading Alan Kawicki's legacy in that way. So over the off season, we came up with an idea where we were going to put the Kawicki Driver Development Program logo on the hood of the car. And then people like fans and sponsors could pay $10 per race to sign the car and ride along for that race. And then all of the proceeds would go to 23 different organizations throughout the year, nonprofits and charities, and just good causes in our local community. So we were able to raise over $24,000 this year doing that. So we far exceeded our goal by far. Our original goal was $230 per race, but it ended up being a lot more than that. Thanks to the awesome support of all the racing fans. I mean, it really just showed me how strong the racing community can be.
Absolutely. And here in with central Wisconsin, but really Wisconsin as a whole, that Kawicki name, it just means something different up here. And so kind of for you to be a central Wisconsin guy yourself, what does it mean for you to be a part of this program for a second year and to also get out and go carry his legacy and be a part of this like you have?
It's a really big deal, like you said, especially being from Wisconsin. With Alan Kawicki's roots tracing back here, you meet a lot of people throughout the year. Being in the program, people notice that, and you meet a lot of people that knew him personally while he was still alive. I met a lot of people that were close to him when he was growing up, people that were involved with him when he was racing, people that race against him, and you just hear so many cool stories, and it really immerses you into the full experience of getting to know who he was and how great of an influence he was for drivers coming up through the ranks after him. He was a big time trailblazer for people that are trying to do it on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Levon, you talk about getting accepted into this program and how much it means to you, but getting selected amongst racers all across the country, what kind of process is that like to get selected? Is there like an application, or are you just doing your thing out on the racetrack and somebody's noticing you? Or just walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it's an application, but it's definitely a tough thing to get into. They open it up every winter after the racing season's over, and you can send in your application to be part of it, but they are very picky with who they choose. So they start with a list of, I think it was north of 50 drivers this year, and then they narrow it down to, I believe, 15 semifinalists, which they just do through the applications that you send in. And then Then they interview all 15 of the semifinalists. You do an interview with all the board members, and then you kind of give them your spiel, let them know why you think you'd represent Allen well, kind of like why you think you're going to have a breakout year in the short track racing scene. And then they select the 7 based off of how those interviews go.
Absolutely. And kind of, you're a big up and coming racer in the area here. What is the overall goal? What do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be, kind of in goal kind of thing?
Yeah. Super late model racing is really where it's at lately for me. I love it. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of good series going around, like the ASA Midwest Tour, the Tundra Series. Just a lot of cool things going on. Lots of big races, like the Gandra 250 this year is 15,000 to win. Obviously, like if you go farther south, there's a snowball derby every year. It's huge. So, I really like where I'm at in super late models, but I'd like to continue going up the ranks as far as like being one of the top competitors in the country. I think we're getting close to that point where, we almost won the Gandra 250 this year, and like we're finished second in 2 of the ASA races, and we're right on the cusp of winning some of those big ones. So I think if we could just take that last the last little step, to get to the point where we can go out and win a lot of these really big races. I think that's the big goal for me. And then if that can lead to something up in NASCAR Truck Series or something like that, that would be awesome.
For Levon, sure. And sorry to step on your feet there, Wyatt, but you talk about the super late model world, and obviously just kind of getting into it with a breakout year, it seems like, here in 2024 for you. But what is the schedule like for you? For people that might not know, somebody from Minnesota like me that doesn't get to see a lot of the short track racing world, what is that schedule like for you guys on a year-to-year basis? And is that something that's going to stay the same for you going forward, or are we looking to add or change things?
Yeah, up in the Midwest, there's a lot of racing. We're lucky up here, especially in Wisconsin. There's lots of tracks, La Crosse, Dells, Kaukauna. There's just a lot of history at a lot of different places. So you can really race as much as you want. If you want to do over 50 races in a year, you can. I mean, there's races on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, but generally, to narrow it down, what we focus on is racing the ASA Midwest Tour, which is a 11 to 12 race series that goes on. You go to different tracks all throughout the year, compete for a championship. And then some of the other ones is like you can run weekly point series for championships at local short tracks like Golden Sands or Marshfield, different places like that. So this year we ran the ASA Midwest Tour. We ran for points at Golden Sands Speedway. And then we ran the Alive for 5 series, which is kind of like the weekly series at Dells Raceway Park. And then there's Tundra, there's all kinds of stuff you could do. And then if you go outside of the state, if you're willing to go farther down south, there's a lot of racing that goes on down in Florida. Especially when it's winter time up here, we can't race in the snow. So if you go down farther south to Florida and stuff like that, and there's a lot of racing down there too. So you can go all year long if you want to.
100%. And I heard you mention several of the great tracks we've got here in Wisconsin. You mentioned Dells. I heard you say Madison. I don't know if you said Slinger or not, but I'm sure that one's up there as well. So my question for you is, what is the best track in the state of Wisconsin? What is Levon's number one? Have to race there for as long as I can.
I think you could ask me that every year for all the years I've been racing. I'd probably give you a different answer every year. There's just so many. There's
very smart.
So many good ones, but lately I've really liked the 5 ace miles tracks like La Crosse and Kaukauna, WIR. I think WIR would have to top the list for me this year. Just we had a really good run there in the 250, almost won it. And it's just one of those tracks that's got a lot of character, a lot of history. Fun fact, actually, the movie that they made on Allen Kowicki, a lot of the racing scenes were actually filmed at WIR. So that's kind of a cool history fact.
Really? That's track. Pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But for a racer too, it's got a lot of character where it's got a lot of different lines that you can run. It's a driver's track. So even if you don't have the best setup car, you can run certain lines throughout the race to get it where you need it, and you can still give yourself a good shot at winning no matter what you got.
Absolutely. And Klon, do you have something else here?
Yep, absolutely. I got another question for you, Levon. You talk about
Perfect.
kind of that, again, just going back to it, the breakout year you've had and how much you're kind of just getting involved, just seemingly young in your career. Are there a lot of veterans or lifetime long members of the sport in Wisconsin for you, or just the region that really have helped you so far, and maybe somebody you lean on in particular to keep expanding in the racing world?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of great veterans that that I look up to and that have given me good advice. Uh, there's Casey Johnson, Ryan Farrell, obviously Ty Majeski. He's pretty young still, but he's like a veteran. He's one of the best to do it in super late models. But the funny thing is, I actually came up like when I first came into racing when I was 8 years old. I raced bandoleros, and I came up in a really good class of bandolero drivers that I raced with at a young age. So like I grew up racing against like Derek Kraus, who's now a NASCAR driver, Parker Retzloff, who's now in NASCAR, Luke Fenhouse, who is making his first NASCAR starts. So really just a stacked field of drivers. So like as I've moved up through the ranks, I've kind of leaned on a couple of them, and we've leaned on each other to give each other advice. One of the people that comes to mind is the past KDDP champion, Luke Fenhouse. He got into super late, so like a year or two before I did, and he got his a couple big wins. He won the Slinger Nationals a couple years back. So like when I first got into super late models, I kind of leaned on him a little bit for some advice, and he kind of helped me out a little bit. And with getting into KDDP too, I also looked for advice from him there. So it's kind of been a mix of older and younger drivers, but you can definitely take different stuff from different people.
How long till you join those guys in the Truck and Xfinity
Say.
series?
I don't know. It's tough to get up to that level now. It takes a lot of you got to have that big season, like the big breakout season. You got to win some big ASA races and stuff. So we're getting close to that. So you never know what could happen. I'm not going to put a timeline on it, but
Smart.
Right now we're just focusing on winning some, how good we can get in the super late models.
Absolutely. And one of the guys we had on, he was actually our first interview. We talked to him right after he raced at Bristol and before he went to race at Kansas. It's Justin Mondyke. And I was talking to your dad about how you've raced with Justin and stuff like that in the past. So I had to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If it's green, white, checkered, you and Justin both in the front row, who comes out on top?
Green and white checkered. That's a tough question. I don't know. Obviously, I'm going to say I'm going to come out on top, but Justin's a really good driver. He's won a lot of. He's a really scrappy driver. He does a lot of the short track racing and stuff. He's won championships at State Park Speedway. So he's got a lot of experience with those late race restarts at tracks like that. But I don't know. The bigger tracks, I think I got a little bit of a leg up on them sometimes. So it would definitely be interesting. I think it'd be a good race.
Absolutely. And something that we ask every person that comes on, who is the driver, number one, who is the driver that got you into NASCAR? Who is your favorite, or I shouldn't say NASCAR, into racing. So who is your favorite driver growing up? And then number two, you guys do a ton of traveling with being drivers. You guys are always on the road going from state to state or track to track. What is the gas station stop? What's the must at the gas station?
It's a good question. The first one was favorite driver growing up, like NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
Anything. Yep.
When I was little, it's funny. My dad was a huge Jeff Gordon fan. He has tons of diecast cars of him and stuff. But I was a Jimmy Johnson fan myself. So
of course.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love the West Coast cool. The California cool. Just call him cool.
He likes winning.
I took after that. So. Big fan of him growing up, and then
something about 7 championships, was it?
Yeah. So then, gas station favorite when traveling. That's a good one. First of all, it's got to be a Quick Trip, right? We always stop at Quick Trips.
That's what Justin said too.
Yeah, that's a common answer here.
And then I would have to say I really like the mini tacos that they've had recently. Those are a good snack. And I'm a big fan of the boneless wings too, the garlic parmesan or the regular barbecue.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially you go on a
He
Tuesday,
gets
get them
it.
for $4.99. You get the
Oh
deal
yeah.
on Tuesdays, I think.
I don't know who's winning on
Spot
the
on.
track yet, but Levon definitely just won the gas station
He did. You
battle
won the
between
gas
him and
station food. I
Justin.
think he said
He's
That's good
what
to
did
know.
Justin say? I think he said
like,
like a pack of beef jerky and a Propel or something.
yeah, oh
Wasn't that
yeah,
what it was? Something
he
like
just
that.
got smoked, is what
You won.
happened.
You
Yeah,
won that one. I'll
Oh
give
man,
that one to you. I'll give that one
thank you,
to you.
thank you.
Have you had the wings at Quick Trip on?
I haven't. I've heard a couple
Good
people talking
wings,
about them recently, though. So
dude.
maybe Minnesota's getting them late, but they're on their way. It sounds like.
Hey, dude, the wings at Quick Trip. They're
I'm
nice.
excited.
They're real
I'm gonna have
nice.
to keep an
But
eye out.
absolutely. Well, Levon, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And best of luck to you here in the near future with any races or anything like that you got coming up. Oh,
Yeah,
and real quick, how can people get involved with your charity before you head off? I wanted to ask that too. Totally forgot. My bad.
yeah, for sure. It's all closed off for the year. We raised the money for everything, but I think we're going to do a similar thing again next year. So if you just follow us on our social medias at Geest Racing on Facebook or Levon_VDG on Instagram or Levon231 on Twitter, I think we'll do a similar thing again next year. So you can either Venmo me money and we'll put the name on the car for you, or if you see us at any tracks, feel free to come up and put your name on the car. It all goes to a great cause.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate you
Amazing.
taking time to talk with us, Levon. Have a good rest of your night, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. It was a good time.
Absolutely. See you, bud. All right. Well, let me get the cameras back adjusted here. They're all wonky now. Okay, there we go. Now we're back to where we need to be. Well, that
There we
was
are.
Levon Geest, absolute stud, great interview, great racer here from the central Wisconsin area. How crazy is that? He was coming up racing Bandoleros with guys like Derek Kraus, guys
know.
like Parker Retzlaff. I mean, like, can you imagine being a little kid and you're racing soon to be Xfinity and soon to be Cup and Truck Series drivers?
And doing well for
Wow.
yourself too. Like, I mean, that's got to be telling a little bit, right? Levon's not only just
Absolutely.
sitting back and telling people about that at a bar some night. And he's not 21 yet. I shouldn't say that, but he's not doing that. But he's excelling in himself. I mean, to be in this category, even where he is, there's no shame in that. And I mean, like I said, he's not even old enough to be in a bar, so the whole world's in front of him yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was blown away when he was telling us about him racing Bandoleros with all those guys. That's a crowd. I mean, that would be tough.
Apparently there's some talent in Wisconsin. Apparently you guys have something over there.
There's something about I don't know if it's something in the water here or what it is, but we got some racers over here, man. They love racing, but when you look at it though, I mean, there's so many short tracks that are some of the best in the nation. You've got Slinger that's over near the Milwaukee area. You've got Madison is a great short track. He mentioned the Dells. Dells is another great one. Lacrosse. There's so many different ones, and I think the culture of racing here just starts so young that these guys are just studs. Like by the time they're 8-9 years old, these guys could go to many other states and compete with some of the top tier people over there already when they're 10 11 years old. So it's definitely crazy here. Like I said, I don't know what they put in the water, but they've got some racers up here. But moving along now, we had a race this weekend.
We sure did.
We had something. I don't know. We did not have any ramps.
Well,
I mean,
not the one we thought, but we had 4 tires off the ground a couple times.
There was a couple times. There was Bowman and then of course Reddick, and Reddick doors his boss right after getting 4 tires off the ground. I was like, hey man, that's a bold strategy. They're running into your boss like that.
I'm not. Yeah, we can start with the recap. Not sure where Reddick was going there. That was certainly something.
Well, that's what Denny was wondering. I was listening to Denny's podcast today, and he was like, I got out of the car and I looked at him and was like, what was the plan? Like, even if the 3 wouldn't have got turned around there, you were still coming in at 900 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like
the lane he picked to go into turn 7 there, he he had no choice but to run through I don't know what they put in there, the bumps, I guess, the turtle shells, whatever they call them, but basically turned into ramps at this point. So, yeah, I don't know what his plan was. I'm not the one driving cars for a living, but yeah, just certainly crazy watching it back a couple times.
Well, speaking of somebody who drives cars for a living and does it better than anybody else on planet Earth, Kyle Larson is a freak. I mean,
Confirmed.
Just a freak. I mean, as if we didn't already know that. I feel like it's not news, but this last weekend, I mean, it was the Kyle Larson show, and we were all just in attendance. It was ridiculous. I mean, I said it right after the race ended. I looked over at Nikki and I was like, you're staring right now at this TV, and we're both looking at this and looking at the best motorsports driver in the world.
Correct.
I don't think there's a better one. You could put him in any vehicle. You could put him in a lawnmower. He's going to make it go fast. Yep. You're going to want to watch. It's going to be interesting. So Kyle Larson, of course, confirmed he's an animal, not human. And we also touched on Reddick with the situation there with Hamlin that lifted off the ground. Yeah. Turn 7. Here's what I'll say. Turn 7 was interesting. I do like the reconfiguration, at least. If we're going to stay doing the Roval, at least we moved it around a little bit, shook it up some, so it wasn't just rinse and repeat like it has been the last couple of years. So at least there was some reconfiguration. And this is not a knock on NASCAR. This just has to do with how great I think that our drivers are in the sport right now. I felt like turn 7 was not as dramatic as I thought it was going to be. Like, yeah, we had some drama there. Yeah, we had some some stuff, some bumps and stuff, but I thought it was going to be a little crazier. I felt like the whole race was kind of that way. I feel like the biggest, most dramatic part of the race happened after, which we'll touch on here in a minute.
100% right.
Yeah. It was just like, I felt like turn 7 wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be.
No, it definitely, like we talked about a little bit last week, just going into it, we thought maybe mass chaos was the only goal, but to your point, you got to give the drivers credit too. But I do want to give NASCAR and Charlotte Motor Speedway, whoever is in charge of the facility, Marcus Smith or whoever is organizing that, maybe that's all they were thinking, is give us a little bit of variety, change it up a little bit. And you got to give them credit. I mean, it wasn't as big of a mess as we had said here and joked about a week ago, and it was a fine race in my opinion. I still don't prefer the Roval over the traditional oval. I'd still rather see it go back, but all things considered, pretty good day of racing. I was entertained anyway, so can't complain about that.
Thought it was pretty solid, and it was not as crazy as I presumed it would be. I thought it would be a whole lot more. I thought that our conversations today were going to be a whole lot different than the way they're going right now and the way that the race went. So, but with that, Briscoe, Suarez, Cindric, and Bowman are all cut. Again, we'll touch on Bowman here in a little bit. Reddick drives his way right into the round of 8. Joey Logano is saved, which by the bell there. But man, wasn't it cool seeing? Yeah, after the bell. Wasn't it cool seeing Reddick just get turned loose like that? Like just at the end there, like you just gotta love seeing that. He's one of the best NASCAR drivers when it comes to road courses, but not just road courses, like just all around. He's one of the best.
Raw speed,
yeah. Dude rips it. He absolutely rips it. And man, it was really just cool seeing him rip it around the track. They came over the radio and said, "Hey, I think he was 7 points out. Got to make up these spots." And he took himself from, from 24th.
Getting emotional.
Yeah, no, sorry, I yawned. It's been a long day, and I worked a late shift yesterday too. So excuse me on that one. Yeah, exactly. So bear with me on that one. But it's just it was really cool to see him just get turned loose like that and go from 24th to 15th and save his playoff hopes. I love the fact I feel like we truly have the best 8 drivers in the sport in our round of 8.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I hate it, and we'll talk about it more. What happened to Alex, just felt like a pretty cool momentum boost for the 48 the second half of the year. And I guess you could argue the full 2024 season. Hate for them to go out like that. But yeah, to your credit, or to your point, I guess I should say, if you're going to build a final 8 based on resumes and popularity and just overall talent, maybe like this is probably the 8 guys you're going to come up with somewhere around there anyway. I don't see many replacements anywhere. So yeah, definitely a loaded class here.
Yeah, it was. I was very happy with this final 8, even if it was Bowman instead of Logano. But
Right.
that's kind of what we'll jump into here next. We had a whole debacle post race where leaving the race, Joey Logano was cut out. He did not make it, and Bowman made it into the round of 8. And then next thing we know, a couple hours after the race is concluded, the 48 car is too light. At first, it was that it got set aside for like deeper inspection. And then it was that there was an issue with it. And then it was that it was too light. And I guess they brought it in, they weighed it, it was below and each team gets and correct me if I'm wrong here, but each team gets a little bit of leeway on both sides of a 0.5%, which is roughly 17 pounds.
Yep.
And he was still under that rough point of 17 pounds. So car weighed in fine on Saturday. It was of weight at that point. What a weird situation.
Yeah.
I've seen all the stuff where people are saying, "Oh, whenever he hit the turtle shells there, and the car lifted off the ground and slammed down, you can see the tungsten chunks flying and stuff like that." And that is true. You can see the little metal chunks and stuff moving. But the problem is that is not 20 pounds worth of metal chunks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
I don't know, dude.
Do you think it is?
I don't think you necessarily see the whole thing in that little clip of him hitting a jump, and you see the little bit spray. Like, I watched that replay 50 times Sunday night that they found that the onboard from, I don't remember who was trailing them, but you can see bits and pieces, but I couldn't see a lot of the things people were saying. So I don't know if it's camera quality for me or my eyes maybe just suck. That might be part of it. But like, I don't know if that little clip's going to tell you the whole story, and who's to say it didn't all fall out right there. And as the race went on, more of it was still trickling out of the car throughout the rest of the day, or
that is
maybe
true.
some of it fell out already and they planned for some of it to fall out, or that there's a lot of different things it could be. I don't want to base it off just that clip, and I don't want to necessarily accuse anybody of cheating, but I do know those tungsten cubes. I don't know. I'm trying to do this in the camera, and the camera's not even close, but the cubes are literally like this big. And there's guys on Twitter, racers, that say the ones that are the size of not much bigger than a baseball are like 40 to 45 pounds. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be much, and there's a lot of weight falling out of that car. But there has to be something that they're not appealing, and we'll get into that here in a second. But it's got to be something happened, obviously. Either Saturday night they were in the garage after hours tinkering with the car, or something did happen when it hit the bumps there, and they didn't account for it.
Yeah, man, I didn't know. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so tough, because I didn't realize.
That stuff's really heavy. Like, it is a dense,
I didn't know it was that
solid,
heavy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of weight in a very small, confined area. Like, it's dense, but yeah, it could have been. I don't know. That clip, I don't think, tells you the whole story. I wouldn't base it off of the whole thing, but
yeah. But the weird part for me here, and we'll move on to this as well, is that Hendrick didn't appeal, and Hendrick is a team that has had a lot of success with their appeals, and has been given the benefit of the doubt. We'll say it that way, from NASCAR in a lot of ways. So if Hendrick walks in, looks at the car, and says, "Yeah, we're not appealing this," like that right there to me even says, like, like there might have been something tinkering with it. But again, I don't know. This is all speculation.
Well,
I'm playing Sherlock Holmes here.
Well, and you're not wrong. I mean, it is all speculation. Obviously, we're never going to probably ever know, not until Alex Bowman's talking on a podcast in 50 years and tells you what really happened. But maybe he doesn't even know. But you know that if you advance in the round of 8, because it was an elimination race on Sunday, that every car that made the next round, it was predetermined and a rule by NASCAR that these cars are going to get inspected. All of them, all of the playoff cars did. So it's not like they got caught and they were doing something Saturday night that they were like, oh, NASCAR, well, they never inspect it again and we don't have to win the race and nobody will ever know. But it has to be something that if I had to guess, it's that was a weight of some kind. It was that tungsten stuff or a block of lead, basically. It's not lead anymore, but that flew off. And the penalty for having something like that fly off of your car is so much. I don't remember the exact details, but it is so much more severe than just simply being eliminated from the playoffs. That only thing Hendrick would have done by appealing it is basically admitting guilt that they did that, and would have made things a lot worse, would be my 2 cents. Again, that's completely speculative, but there's a reason they didn't. That's your Hail Mary to save your season, is that appeal, and that you didn't even quote unquote throw the ball is wild.
Yeah. No, I was shocked. I thought for sure we were going to get an appeal very quickly and this was all going to be hashed out, but that it wasn't. And so because of that, Joey Logano ends up squeaking through and he advances to the round of 8, which, like I said earlier, I really think that this is the 8 best drivers in NASCAR right now. I think I really got
probably agree.
The most level playing field possible here. I mean, really, any of these 8 drivers could win it.
Yep.
Like I could see. Truly. I could see Joey winning it. I could see Chase. I could see Ryan. I could see Bell. I could see Larson, of course. I could see Hamlin. I could see, any of these 8 drivers could go through and win this. So that's going to make for a very interesting round of 8 and an even more interesting final race there in Phoenix. But before we get to Phoenix, we're going to talk about this Xfinity race real quick. At the Roval.
Oh, we sure will. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh, yeah. It's and if you haven't watched it yet, go back, watch the highlights from the race, and all you have to do is watch the last 5 laps. And man, it's gonna unfold in front of you. It's so bad. It's sure I hate it. It's every week. Every week we do this, and we're here talking about some other screw up from the tower, and it's like, it's just exhausting. It's just exhausting at this point.
It is.
If every week it's something else, and this one was bad. I mean, this one was like, it's getting to a point where I don't even think I'm frustrated anymore. It's kind of just comical. It's just kind of funny. It's just kind of funny at this point. Like, how bad can it get? Because it's like I can sit here and be pissed off, or like I can just laugh about it. So that's kind of where I'm at now, because it's just, they're so bad. Some of these calls are just abysmally bad.
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of break down what all happened on this, and I'll react as you go along? And
to give just a quick little synopsis of it again, and if you want better detail, go back and watch it yourself. But
you should do that either way. If you haven't seen it, you need to see this.
Xfinity Series driver, long time, good guy, bounced around the sport a lot at various levels. Parker Kligerman was seemingly going to drive to his first Xfinity Series win. I think ever Xfinity Series win. Like, it just key to that series. But anyway, he was driving away with it. I don't remember who the other driver was that stuffed it in a tire barrier on one of the corners. And I think it was like 30 seconds they waited, and literally waited until Parker was about to cross the finish line to take the white flag, which signifies 1 lap to go, for those of you that don't know. And when we're on the white flag lap, a caution would therefore end the race. So Parker would win. But NASCAR waited 30 seconds until Parker was just about to cross the finish line and then threw the caution. So he didn't take the white flag, but they also waited long enough for him to take the white flag and then throw it. So he ends up not winning the race. Spoiler alert. Sam Mayer, I believe, is his name, that ends up going on to win it. And yeah, like you said, just another week where the Tower race control of the sanctioning body NASCAR that runs the sport somehow doesn't know how to run their own sport. And they're starting to love showing you that, I think. And like, you're losing your anger to it. I think we're just becoming numb to the fact that they don't know what they're doing.
It's just funny at this point. I don't know. It's so bad. I mean, that car was buried
You
underneath
could
the
hardly
tires.
see the
You
thing.
literally couldn't see the car. It was that obvious that like something had gone on. The tires are pushed up, like, and
And
the fact that we have someone who is paid every Sunday to sit at the caution light button and watch this race, and every person watching at home, the fact that all those people knew what had happened before them, it's a crime. And NASCAR then comes out with the excuse of, oh, it was tough to see that part of the track from here. Then get a spotter, get a camera,
well,
get
they
something on that. Like, it's just,
you can't tell me they don't have a spotter down there.
they have to. They
They
have
have
to.
you
There's no
have
way they don't.
They have spotters at Daytona and Talladega, the biggest, wide open, easy to see tracks in the world. But you wouldn't put one somewhere in a tight corner at a road course. Like,
It's
you can't
ridiculous. I
you
don't
can't tell
even
me
know
they don't
anymore.
have somebody there. You can't tell me they can't see it because the TV copy, which they have TVs up in the booth. If you're just watching the race on TV,
Well, that's
you
how they
knew
said
enough
they
to throw
found
it.
out because some guy bumped him and goes, dude, look at the TV. There's a car buried right there.
How are we not looking at that? Why
It's
are there
like,
not?
what?
It's 2024. How are there not like 4 monitors in front of this person plus the racetrack? Like, how is
How
this a thing?
how much is that person being paid?
Mm, I'm
Like
gonna
give
guess nothing
well,
except for beer, maybe. They're probably getting paid in booze.
yeah, they have to be with how bad some of these calls have been.
Well, and
It's
they
been atrocious. And I'm not I'm not mad that they called the caution. That was the correct call.
no, right.
It was a caution. Like it was the 100% correct call. The problem is this event happens and you don't wave the caution flag. You don't throw the caution until Parker Kligerman has gone all the way around the track and is now 40 feet from crossing the start finish line and winning this race. And then you're going to look up, take your finger out from your nose and say, oh, pow. Let me hit this button real quick that makes the yellow flashing lights go. Ooh, pretty lights. That's gotta be like it's just
It's probably a sticky button.
it's gotta be a
If he's
sticky button.
if he's picking his nose and hitting the button, that's not good. That's gonna be a mess. But
That's gross. That is gross.
yeah, yeah, it's something my son would do. He'd love that. But yeah, I to your point, it's black and white. It needs to be black and white here. And if it's not black and white, and we're gonna wait until he's at the line, just let him cross the line, give him the win. We don't need a overtime restart again. Like, I think NASCAR sometimes thinks those are a lot bigger of a deal to fans than they are. Like, I don't think the average race fan sits there and looks like, oh, thank God we got a green white checkered. I was waiting for one of these all day. Like,
Thank God.
you
I've
didn't
been
show up.
dying for one of these.
You didn't show up and buy a ticket to the race to see a green white checkered. Like, that's not a make or break deal for people, nor should it be. If you're going to a race just to watch the 2 extra laps, don't go. Like,
You
forget it.
you missed the whole 200 before it that were important
Right.
as well.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So if you're gonna do it that way, just let Parker cross the line. But
Yeah.
it's a caution at the moment that car is stuck in the barrier, which was pretty much instantaneous at this point in this scenario. it's a caution right away, and then
Well,
we would
and
still do the
even
overtime thing, but you still call it with integrity,
right.
not say, "Oh, we got them right where we want them," and click right at the line
Yep.
like that. That can't happen.
And
That's
and
ridiculous.
even if they would have been able to, like, let's say that car would have been able to get out of that pile, he would have dragged all kinds of stuff onto the racing surface. Whether if it
Yeah,
was the tarps covering the tires, he would have dragged tires out there. Like, there was no way that car was going to be able to get out, A, and B, even if it did, it was going to drag so much crap onto the racing surface that they would have had to blow the caution anyways.
yeah.
So it's just like I said, I don't know. It's just we're back to square one here. The only consistency is inconsistency. And that right there is the problem. That is where the problem lies. That
Well,
is the root of it.
and to get we've been saying is more consistent, to get black and white, all those things. I got to ask you, should we just do away with green white checkers? Because it feels like if that carrot is still out there on the stick dangling, NASCAR is going to grab it every time. And
See,
like the only way we're going to get consistent is to do away with some of the extra rules and the corner cutting, which again, we won't even take time to talk about it, but go back and look at all that from Sunday too. Just the only way you get rid of inconsistency is just get rid of all of it altogether. Like we don't need
no,
another
I
rule, I
totally
guess.
I totally agree with you. I get what you're saying. I just the problem is if you take away the green white checkered, people are going to do what they did originally that got us the overtime, and they're going to complain about ending under caution. That's
Ending under
exactly what's going to
caution.
happen. Like
Yeah.
either way, you're going to have a certain group of people upset about that, and you're going to have a certain group of people that are happy about it.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. It's tough. It's tough, but unfortunately, that's kind of where the problem lies. If you do take away the green white checkered, is people are going to be mad about ending under caution. So I don't know, it's tough. I see where you're coming from, though. I totally do. It's just just one of those situations where either way
Yeah.
somebody's going to be upset, you know.
Yeah.
But
Inevitable.
right. And speaking of somebody being upset, Martin Truex Jr. I, I don't even know
Is he
why he
even
shows up. I
is
don't
he
even know why
even
he
mad
shows up.
anymore? I don't even know if you can call him mad. I think he's just bored.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know, like, what was the words here? I'm scrolling up trying to find it. It
It's
was,
something like
can we
along the lines
just
of, can we just blow
blow?
up?
Can we just blow the f up and go home?
I think that was in stage one too, if I'm not mistaken.
That
He was
it
saying that
was, it
early. Yeah.
was, it was, and that's that's early. That's early to be saying that. That is real early to be saying that. So yeah, I'm. It sucks. I hate to see
Yeah.
Martin in this state, but like he just at this point, can we just let him not show up? Just like
Seriously.
give somebody in the Xfinity series who needs a ride or something, or like let's put Jesse Love in the car one week, and then next week we'll put Zilish in a cup car, and then the week after that, like let's go give these up and comers a week to go racing at the Cup Series level, because
Well,
I
and
love
that's
Martin, but he's so uninvested. Sorry, go
the
ahead.
the thing I find so funny about it is he's running the Daytona 500 next year. Like
Yeah.
if you don't care so much, I get it's the Daytona 500 and it's one-off thing and it's a cool deal, but
But it's not even his track. Like Martin's never
yeah,
been good at Daytona. Like he's never been great at Daytona or anything like that. Like I just retire.
I
If
know.
it's this big of a problem, just hang it up.
Right. And there's probably context to that quote too of him saying that they were probably running the car was probably crap and it wasn't running well or whatever, but just have no pride as a race car driver. You only got four of them left, five at that point, five of them left. Like every single one of them you should be soaking up every second, or maybe that's just me. Like I've never done it for a living, so not going to speak to how you should feel, but yeah, I just always think of people that either, you're quitting a job you were at for a long time, or you're quitting a sport you played for a long time, or any hobby or activity you did, and you only have so many left. Like you're trying to soak it all up and enjoy it, not, Not trying to just shut it down and go home, but
yeah, no,
I guess
100%.
maybe not. That maybe it's not like that for him, and he obviously maybe doesn't see it that way. But yeah, just really sad to hear. Hopefully this next round is better for him. More tracks that maybe suit his style and
I
can hopefully have some success.
yeah, I just want him to get a win. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
like what would I have to give for Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. to win a race before this year ended? Like just
Kyle to win this one and Martin to win next weekend.
yeah, I mean just that. That sounds great. That
Kyle
sounds
gets
great.
Vegas one more time at his home track. Martin gets Homestead, where I don't remember him winning per se, but I feel like he's been pretty good.
I won the championship there.
Yeah, I don't remember if he won that race in 17 or not when he won the chip, but
I think he did, but I don't
remember.
But I don't know. Like I don't want to quote myself on that one. I don't remember.
But it's a mile and a half and it's Martin Truex Jr. Like he's got to be okay.
Yeah.
Like he can't be bad at it, and just have those two get something positive out of this and at least make it worth their while. Not that it's Kyle Busch's last year by any stretch of the imagination, but might as well just keep rolling with non-playoff drivers winning playoff races. It's just kind of the way it's been, besides Kyle Larson. He's the only one that got the memo, but
yeah. And this was 7 wins for him now on the year, right?
Boy, let me go back and look. It's either 6 or 7, obviously, but
I think it's 7.
I can get you a real number.
I might be wrong though. Now I'm nervous.
6.
6. Okay, still though.
I mean, that 6 is ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
crazy.
That's wild.
Like I said, he's a unicorn. He's literally just a unicorn. That's the only way to explain it.
Christopher Bell might have the quietest 3-win season I've ever seen.
Ever. That's a guy. Well, then we'll move along to that stuff because we've started kind of heading in that direction.
Sorry,
here.
ADD.
No, you're good. No, you're good. I just kind of figured that's where the conversation was headed here. We got the round of 8 coming up. Vegas first this upcoming weekend. Then we go to Homestead, and then we go to the Paperclip in Martinsville. And after those 3 races, we will have our final 4. But looking at this upcoming week here at Vegas, what wins it at Vegas, and who do you think takes the checkered flag?
Boy, what wins it? I think it's finally time for these good cars. We just talked about what the round of 8 looks like and the stacked lineup it has. It's finally time for these cars to really show their raw speed again. And that's not a knock on Talladega. It's not a knock on the Roval, anything like that. But this round is really all about bread and butter, traditional NASCAR. You get 2 mile-and-a-halves, and then Martinsville, a short track. So I look for guys that we more traditionally would think of. I know we've talked about Kyle Larson enough with this episode already, but obviously him. But you're looking further down the line, the 24 car's been quietly having had a good round, but not necessarily leading a lot of laps. Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase, all those guys. Like, I think you're just going to see the veteran presence in a lot of those guys, that championship experience come out. And I think that's what's going to get it done, is you just have to be consistently really good, not only this Sunday, but over the next 3 weekends. It's going to be a difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's going to be, I think we will see 3 different winners for these next 3 tracks.
Yep.
And I think minimum 2 of them are going to be round of 8 drivers.
I would agree for sure.
And I think that sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm predicting it's all 3 would be playoff drivers.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's what I was saying. I would say minimum it's 2, most likely it is 3. And I think this week it starts off with Larson at Vegas. They've just been untouchable at Vegas.
I know.
Earlier in the spring too. I mean, they just ran away from everybody else.
Got another good Kyle Larson stat just to tell you how good 2024 has been. We talked about the 6 wins according to the NASCAR website, so the stats are probably not wrong. They're not, but Kyle Larson has led 1,614 laps this year. The next closest person is Christopher Bell with just about half of that. He has 844 laps led in the 2024 season, which 844 is nothing to feel sorry about.
No,
But Kyle Larson has led
that's a great number.
1,614 laps this year. That's a lot for people listening.
He is not human.
He's
an animal.
I'm trying so hard in my head right now to make myself pick somebody else. You know what, for the sake of being different, like if we get into people that we want to see win it, I want Tyler Reddick to take what Sunday was.
That's not a bad pick.
I want him to take what Sunday was, and that's like your wild card team that made the playoffs on the last day of the season in whatever sport, and like just that breath of life was enough to get you all the way to the end. But yeah, I'm trying to talk myself into it right now. I don't know, man. Kyle Larson that 5 car is lethal right now.
They are just like top to bottom incredible. I mean, you've got the best driver in the world. I would argue you got the best crew chief in NASCAR. I would also argue that's probably the best crew in NASCAR.
Yeah.
Like, they're just ridiculous. They're just ridiculous. They do it faster. They do it better than everybody else. And it's incredibly fun to watch. It's crazy to watch. I feel like this is another thing I was talking about, talking to Nikki after the race and everything, but like, I looked over at Nikki and I was like, I feel like every other week, and granted it hasn't been that much, but just with how many times they've won this year, it just feels like every other week we're talking about Kyle Larson after the race winning. Like after the race, the post-race interview, it's Kyle Larson. It just feels like that's every week now. And granted it hasn't been, but it just feels that way. They've won a ton this year.
Well,
a ton.
And it's one of those things, and it does feel like it's a lot. The 6 wins is a lot, but to your point, I mean, there's been 32 of them, so it's not like he's winning 50% of the races. But the thing with Kyle Larson, I always go back to, and people are surprised like this, is when he was driving the 42 car, even back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, like everybody said right away, like, this guy's got the most raw potential since Jeff Gordon. You just get him in a car, no offense to the 42 car at the time, but you get him in top tier talent, this thing's going to explode. And here we are 10 years later. He's the most dominant driver in the sport right now. I mean, I don't think it's even close. We shouldn't be totally shocked either, right? Like, I think there's a lot of new fans maybe or something the last couple of years that are almost taken aback by how good he is. And it's like, we've known for 5, 6, 7 years this was maybe coming.
Right. He's the Patrick Mahomes of NASCAR.
Yeah,
that's my comparison for it. He's the Patrick Mahomes of NASCAR, just a dude that's like head and shoulders above the rest. And it's really not, when they're out on the field, it's not fair. It's just really not.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it.
Well, after this we'll have our championship 4 coming up. After this stage, we will have our final 4 set. So now we've avoided the question all the way up to this point. We have, kept it the same. But now that we're in the round of 8, I feel like we can dive back into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Who is your final 4 drivers moving on from the round of 8?
To be honest with you, I was even thinking I'll switch it up, but I honestly don't have it in front of me who I picked right now. So I'm not even sure if this is going to be different.
You picked Larson, Bell, Blaney, and Reddick.
In my head, I was sold that I was swapping one here, but that's my 4. I am going to go with Larson.
Sticking with it.
I feel, and I actually thought I was switching it. So credit to me for just, outsmarting myself there.
Let's go.
Larson and Bell for sure. Like Kyle's already 33 points. So good. He's going to arguably one of his.
He literally has a free race.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, like he's going. I think Bell got enough points. He's going to make it, and he's just going to be solid. They're good at Vegas too, and at Homestead he won last year. So what are we talking about? I think Blaney just somehow, like we talked about before, we got this far in the playoffs. Like the 12 team just really knows how to game the system. I do think Ryan is good at all 3 of these racetracks. Won Martinsville last year. Like there's just something about it that if they got this far, they were going to get close enough to make it. And I think he wins one of the 3 races as well. And then, like I talked about before, like I want the we just snuck into the next round moment for Tyler Reddick to propel him all the way there. I'd love to see him win the whole thing now.
What about Joey then? Because I think Joey even more just barely snuck in.
Yeah, but Joey didn't pass anybody on the track to do it.
Like, and it's an even year. That was where I was like, whoa, hold on. It's an even year, and he stayed alive on that.
The true back from the dead moment.
What's going on here right now? I was stunned when I thought of that. I was like driving to work this morning, and I was like, oh my God.
He's back.
He's back. Like they didn't lose that. They still have it. It's still available for him to go win every even year for the championship.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, that would be equally probably the where did he come from type scenario, but I don't know. The 22 car to me, like, yeah, Joey Logano's a 2-time champion of the sport, like won everything you can possibly win, great driver. The 22 car just feels like it's a step off this year. Like, I know he had Richmond won before us, and Dylan tried to be a human bowling ball, and probably a couple other races he was pretty close, but it just feels like they haven't been that close.
Austin Dillon did nothing wrong, and taking that away from him is going to change the future of motorsports as a whole. It will never be the same. Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm still waiting for it to change. I still haven't felt that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Not sold on Joey. Not that making the round debate's a bad year, but give me Tyler.
No, it's a valiant effort. It's a great year, and I do agree with you. I don't have the 22 in mind as well. I am going to follow you there on the 5 and the 20 car, just because number one, the 5. I mean, they're the best driver in the sport, the best team in the sport, the best crew chief in the sport, all peaking at the right time, and that's going to push them farther. They've already got a 33-point cushion, basically like a free race. I mean, at this point, he's going to 3 tracks that he's really successful at, and he could technically DNF one of them and still points his way in.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
unreal.
Comfortably, too. So there's that. And then I'm going to look at Bell as well. He's made it in the last 2 years, which automatically he's quiet, but he sneaks in every time. But what's different about this year, the last 2 years, Bell would make it on like home run in the 9th inning moments.
Mm-hmm.
They won when they absolutely had to take them to that point to be able to extend their playoffs. But this year's been different. This year, they've pretty much advanced in every round by stage 1 of the final race. Like, they're ahead of the 8 ball on this one in a lot of ways. And again, like to your point, they're just so quiet. And there's something about that. There's something about quiet results for me that this 20 team gets. They go out, they don't make a lot of noise, but they've got 3 wins. And they went ahead and secured themselves into the round of 8 before that race was even over. And there wasn't really, even when we went into the race day on the final day, there wasn't really much of a doubt. Like, so it's one of those things. They're just a really solid team that doesn't make a lot of noise, and quiet results for them has really taken them forward. And that's why I can't not have them in. After that, I am going to mix it up. So we had mostly the same list. You finished yours off with Blaney and Reddick. I finished mine off with Blaney and Hamlin. Okay. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to switch it up.
Denny gets home.
I'm going to keep Denny. I'm going to take out Blaney. The reason why I'm taking out Blaney, they've had so much bad luck here recently, and you just can't have that in this round. At this point, you have to have the speed, you have to have the luck, you have to have the results. You can't just have 1 or 2 good races and have enough points to get in now. Now, if you do have that spot. Right. Now, if you do have that freak accident in the middle of a race where you're uninvolved but still wound up to be caught up in the wreck, that at this point really ends your season. And I hate taking them out of it because I'm sure I'm 100% wrong and they're going to be in that final 4. But I'm going to take the 12 team out. I'm going to replace them with the 9.
There he is.
Chase Elliott has been.
You were doing that just because you had the car sitting there.
You know,
that's the whole reason we made the pick.
Most consistent driver this year. I mean, the best average finish of any driver this year. And that's what this is all about. Even if he doesn't go get a win, let's say 3 round of 8 drivers go out and get a win. Larson wins the first race. Let's say Bell wins again at Homestead. And let's say Denny wins in Martinsville. If Chase Elliott finishes top 5, top 10 in all 3 of these races, he points in no matter what. And he can go through and he can get the stage points. He takes that final spot. At this point in the year, I'm looking for consistency, and the 9 team has had more consistency than any other team this year for me. So I'm going with them. Nikki's going to be so mad at me. RB is her guy, but I'm sorry, babe.
Oh yeah,
but
12 car.
But I'm putting in the 9. It's totally a homer pick. It's 100% a homer pick.
You're not the only person I've seen that said that in the last couple of days, though, since the round of 8's been set, saying like, Chase is just going to sneak in there anyway. Like, he's just going to find a way. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I would not be shocked if he's there. So, I don't hate the idea.
It's always a possibility. They have some great results. But, man, episode 5, that's a wrap. We had a great interview. I feel like the interview was so long ago now. I feel like that was a totally different episode. I feel like we didn't even do that this episode, but we did. That was a great interview. So if you're listening now and you missed that, be sure to go check that out. We had Levon Vander Geest. He's one of the up-and-coming Central Wisconsin racers. We had him on today. He talked about his charity he's doing, as well as what it's like racing here in the Central Wisconsin area. He had some great stories about racing with some really interesting names: Ty Majeski, Derek Kraus, Parker Retzlaff, some guys who are currently in the NASCAR series, either Cup or Truck or Xfinity. And great interview, great episode. Yeah. And we look ahead now. We'll have our next episode. We will break down Vegas. That's going to be an interesting one. I can't wait to see where we go from here. And I just can't believe we're down to 4 races.
I know it's gone fast. Like, even podcast episodes aside, like, the year has flown by here. The last couple months, it feels like it's really picked up in particular. But it's all going to settle back down when that 45 car takes one home here and punches his ticket, and we're all going to hit the reset button.
That's the other thing, dude. We could know one of our 4 drivers on Sunday.
Yep. There we are.
I would say we are, Tyler. I love it. Call your shot. I love it. That's great.
Man. Swing hard.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think we do find out one of our 4 drivers, whether if it is Reddick or not. I think one of the 4 will win on Sunday. So it's going to be interesting. We'll break down that. We'll also take a look ahead at Homestead at that point, which will be an interesting week ahead on that one as well. And is there anything I didn't mention? I think we covered it all. All right, perfect. Well, as always, thank you guys for tuning in to the. Is there something? Did I miss something?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said something.
You're rolling, man. No, you're good.
Sorry.
I was reaffirming you. You had it the whole way.
Okay, yeah, no worries then. Sorry. Okay, well, that is all here for the Speeding in the Pits podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe. That's about it. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it as always for listening to us talk left turns, and we'll see you next time on the Speeding in the Pits podcast.